Hello again. Up to now, we've seen various techniques to locate different objects in images and techniques to label pixels in images. These have all used various tricks to reduce the detection search space from an image pyramid. We've also seen solutions that have started off with handcrafted aspects achieve better performance when learned end-to-end. This is exactly the problem that some relatively recent architectures are trying to solve. In this lesson, we'll discuss two such architectures. The first is Mask or CNN, which adds a fully convolutional network segmenter to faster RCNN to perform instance segmentation. We'll also see Panoptic segmentation, which unifies the traditionally distinct tasks of instance segmentation, detecting and segmenting each object instance, and semantic segmentation, which assigns a class label to each pixel.
Mask or CNN is a framework for object instance segmentation from 2017. It was developed by the researchers who had previously helped create the ResNet classifier and the RCNN family of detectors. Conceptually, it is very simple. It extends the previous faster RCNN model by adding a branch to predict an object mask in parallel with the bounding box regression. We now let the system learn end-to-end and can co-optimize all the layers to find the best overall results. Mask or CNN is simple to train, and the additional branch imposes only a small extra computational overhead as compared to faster RCNN. Furthermore, because it is simple and easily understood, it is easy to generalize to other tasks, such as pose estimation. Pose estimation can be added by incorporating a simple additional branch. Here we can see the Mask or CNN model. A nice way to think about Mask or CNN is that it is essentially faster RCNN with the addition of a fully convolutional network on the region of interest proposals. Faster RCNN was not designed for pixel-to-pixel alignment between network inputs and outputs, and so small changes had to be made to the ROI pool caching mechanism to faithfully preserve exact spatial locations. This is called ROI align. ROI align was needed as segmentation requires pixel-level specificity, unlike bounding boxes. Instead of performing a rounding, which loses this specificity, ROI align uses a bilinear interpolation instead when distributing values from the original image into the ROI pool feature maps. This was found to improve mask accuracy significantly. Mask or CNN deliberately decouples mask and class prediction. That is, it predicts the binary mask for each class independently of classification. It then uses the ROI classification branch to predict the classification and bounding box regression. The reason for this is that during empirical testing, this approach was found to perform best for instance segmentation. By contrast, a more traditionally fully convolutional network-driven approach might have been to detect all pixels belonging to the one class as a single mask, and then try to separate the instances for each class. That could be called a segment-first strategy. Mask or CNN discovered that segmentation, which preceded regression, was slower and less accurate, and so instead Mask or CNN is based on an instance-first strategy. Here we are showing results from Mask or CNN on test images from the COCO dataset. Other systems have generated segment proposals from bounding box or object proposals and then tried classification on these. Mask or CNN is simpler because it performs the prediction of masks and class labels in parallel. You can see that the results from Mask or CNN are really quite impressive. So we've seen semantic segmentation will divide our image into things classes of objects, and stuff where stuff is background, for example. An instance segmentation will divide our objects into different instances. The term Panoptic segmentation was introduced somewhat controversially as a means of reconciling the two, that is, reconciling stuff and things. Panoptic segmentation is not a specific architecture, but rather the naming of a concept, and an attempt at defining a new novel metric called Panoptic quality, or PQ, for how the community might more accurately measure the progress in this particular task, and hopefully the beginnings of a new category of competition to spur innovation in this area. Here we'll look at two examples of pre-existing methods which attempt to provide output for both these tasks with the one network. The UberNet system describes itself as a Swiss Army knife for various image tasks. In the evolution of RCNN through mask RCNN, we've seen that the network learns new skills by adding new network branches in parallel. But do we need to keep doing everything separately? UberNet looks at trying to solve these various image tasks, predicting classification, detection of boundaries, segmentation, and to try to solve them simultaneously based on the intuition that one task might help another learn better. It does this by introducing two new ideas: a smarter loss function and training method, and by optimizing how memory is used across the multiple tasks while training. The error or loss function of the overall network only relies on the ground truth that is available on a per training sample basis. This allows mixing and matching of different training sets, where one training set might have a particular set of labels and a different training set might have an orthogonal set of labels. UberNet calculates the error gradient to correct in back propagation and accumulates these errors, but it delays updates of particular network parameters until a sufficient number of samples for that particular parameter have been seen. UberNet calls this asynchronous stochastic gradient descent. Note that because of this stochastic gradient descent, UberNet does not train with mini-batches. Instead, it trains one example at a time. Memory is optimized across multitask training by utilizing a memory-efficient backpropagation algorithm with lazy evaluation of gradients. Here, we see the UberNet network architecture. In actual fact, we can see an explicit image pyramid formed by successive downsampling. Skip layer pooling at different layers of the VGG base classifier is combined with batch normalization to provide features for task-specific responses. These are combined across network layers and resolutions to form task-specific decisions. UberNet is interesting because it successfully integrates a number of tasks and jointly learns them. And we have seen a trend in the application of deep learning to computer vision problems that jointly learning across the entire problem domain can often allow for better overall system optimization. The pixel-wise instance segmentation system is an end-to-end trainable approach that produces a segmentation map where each pixel is assigned an object class and an instance identity label. It is based on an initial semantic segmenter, a segment-first approach, which feeds an instance subnetwork. This subnetwork uses the initial class segmentation along with cues from the output of an object detector and a conditional random field model to distinguish individual object instances. Every pixel in the image is labeled, and a pixel cannot belong to multiple instances. So therefore, each pixel will only have one instance label, corresponding to an object class, or it will be labeled as background.
In the next lesson, we will introduce the concept of transfer learning, exploiting knowledge from a model trained for a different task.